Hello BookTube, this is Weekly Reads. I've had a busy and mixed reading week, so let's get going. I started this reading week with the intention of continuing my plan from last week's reading, which is reading more history. So with that in mind, I started the reading week this week with the Chinese in America by Iris Chang. This is a history of Chinese immigration to the United States and the history of the Chinese in America. The story goes from welcome to increasingly vile and petty and cruel and evil bouts of racism that led to the Exclusion Acts, and then with the 20th century, pretty much the treatment of Chinese Americans in America from the mid-20th century onwards varies between acceptance, almost honorary whiteness, to racist attacks whenever the United States and China don't get along. I really enjoyed this book. It was quite good. The writing style is subdued, but I think that quality helps the subject matter shine through. So definitely The Chinese in America is a book to check out. The next book I read, or had to go at, is The Water Kingdom, A Secret History of China by Philip Ball. This book looks at China and the Chinese people's history, relationship with water, from rivers to canals to the sea. What I read of it, I didn't like it. The introduction raised my hackles. It starts with, I guess, a defense of why Philippa Ball, a science writer, and a prolific one at that, both in the world of magazine writing and also in the world of book writing, is writing a book on China. But there are whiffs of romanticization, I think, in Ball's defense. And it's, while the title The Water Kingdom would imply a deeper scholarly exploration into the role of water in Chinese history, the book is generally, I think, intended for a more unfamiliar audience. So, I didn't like it at all, so I bailed. So, on Tuesday, I had to go at The Everlasting Empire, The Political Culture of Ancient China and Its Imperial Legacy by Yuri Pines. So this is a book that looks at the enduring power of certain ideologies, particularly pertaining to Chinese monarchism, from at least the Qin dynasty up to the present. And it essentially goes that even in periods when China is disunited, it's fractured, that there's always an impulse that all of the actors, the combatants, the petty kings, if you will, are fighting to reunify China, preferably with themselves as emperor, or in their dynasty as an imperial dynasty. And that extends to the Chinese Communist Party in many ways. Uh, so, while the Water Kingdom, I think, was maybe a little too general for my taste, too introductory for my taste, the Everlasting Empire went into the opposite direction. It's very technical, very scholarly, and threatened to put me to sleep. So I bailed on this one too, although I did not take a nap. So that left me with a bit of a conundrum because it's Wednesday and there's really not a book I can read in 3 days. Because I like to have my reading week sort of defined by pretty much finishing everything I set myself to read during a reading week on Friday. And 3 days is not really enough to read a book, unless it's very short, or it's a slim volume of poetry, or it's a comic. And I've been avoiding reading American comics for quite a while. So I decided to go ahead and read some American comics on Wednesday. So I read East of West by Jonathan Hickman, and I'm blanking on the artist's name, and the second volume of Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. So East of West is a apocalyptic, dystopic, steampunk, weird western, alternate history mashup. It takes place in 2064 in a United States that diverged from our history in the 19th century. In this version of America, the Civil War lasted significantly longer than it did in our timeline, and really only fully ended when a comet struck Kansas, causing massive amounts of destruction. Although that said, the artwork makes Kansas look more like the desert Southwest than Kansas, but anyway. But pretty much once a comet hit, it desertified Kansas. So anyway, so out of the ashes, an armistice was reached that between the various warring American states. And in this setting, there are 7. There's the Union, there's the Confederacy, although Louisiana has broken away to somehow to create the Kingdom of New Orleans, and Texas is back to being an independent republic. Much of the Great Plains is occupied by a nation called the Endless Nation, which is Native American led, and in the Pacific, on the Pacific coast, there is the People's Republic of America, which is basically the People's Republic of China with some Chinese imperial hold-up influences moved to the Pacific coast. And of course there is also a small state around the site of where the comet hit. So basically over time 3 prophets rise. 2 or 3 of whom I'm thinking they're all historical. Longstreet, who was a Confederate, Red Cloud, who's a Native American, and Mao Zedong, who in this setting fled China for California. They all prophesied the end of the world. And in the 2060s, and slightly before, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse come to help the apocalypse along. And they are aided by a cabal of powerful people amongst the 7 nations called the Chosen. And things progress until Death of the 4 horsemen abandons the group to get married and have a child. They are attacked. Death's attacked by the Chosen. Death's wife is attacked by the 4 horsemen, and her child is taken. And of course, this is all part of the apocalyptic prophecy. So the main thrust of East of West is Death looking for revenge. He's looking to kill the Chosen and to free his child. And it is a brutal, just nihilistic, powerful, and visually stunning comic. I really enjoyed it. And Saga is, of course, one of the biggest comics published today, although it was just coming off of an extended hiatus. It's a space opera in which two members of a warring species, the planet Landfall and its moon Wreath, fall in love and flee. This romance, this flight, the resultant hybrid child has triggered both sides' command, with Landfall ordering an ally, the Robot Kingdom, with tracking down the two and killing everybody. And the High Command of Wreath hiring various mercenaries to kill the parents but capture the child. And the story goes from there. And so in this second volume, the family, Marco, Alana, and little Hazel, are confronted by Marco's parents, and also are finally tracked down by one of the bounty hunters, and it is amazing. It's just visually stunning. Fiona Staples is an amazing artist, and the characterization, the motivations, it's a wonderful story. So that's what I read on Wednesday, and I quite enjoyed it. And of course, since I'm not showing you the comics themselves, I read it on my Kindle, which is currently what I'm using to film these videos on, or what I use to film my videos on, so I can't really show you the few paltry ebooks I have. Now, before anybody goes and starts saying I'm getting into ebooks, no, I had no other option. I mean, it's not like I scorn e-reading, but it doesn't appeal to me as much as I would say the converted and evangelistic of e-reading's proponents would have, most of the rest of us have. So, yeah. Although I have been thinking seriously about getting back into American comics again, although I just don't know where to put the comics, because I really am running out of space again, even though I got a huge bookcase. Guess I'll just have to get another one at some point or another. Anyway, so that was Wednesday's reading. Thursday, I ended up losing track of time and went through a bit of a binge of cleaning out my wish list of some of the cookbooks I don't really want. I talked a bit about doing that on my cookbook haul video yesterday, and yeah, I did that. Wasn't quite a meltdown, but an extended bit of one of the contributing causes of it sort of reared its head yesterday. Not that I mind. I'm glad to help, but anyway. So yeah, so I didn't read anything yesterday, and then today I read 2 volumes of manga. I started today with Kaiju No. 8, Volume 1, by Naoya Matsumoto. This is a manga about kaiju. Kaiju are giant monsters in Japanese culture, and in this setting, Japan is set by almost daily kaiju attacks. And to combat these kaiju, there's a special defense force that are specifically trained with killing kaiju. Our main character, Kafka Hibino, I think that's his name. I know his first name's Kafka, so we'll go with that. Is tried out for this defense force, and he flunked out. Although his childhood best friend is a high-ranking officer, so instead of fighting kaiju, he has joined a kaiju cleanup crew. Pretty much, well, somebody's got to clean up the mess, and so he helps clean up the mess. He is sort of partnered with a new hire named is it Kawa? No, Irakawa, I think is his name. Who wants to join the defense force himself. So he's basically using this as sort of a learning stepping stone. One day, while they are on a cleanup assignment, another kaiju attacks, and Kafka and Irakawa are wounded and are taken to the hospital. When, as luck would have it, a weird talking creature that would also be considered a kaiju enters Kafka's mouth and turns Kafka into a kaiju human hybrid. And this new kaiju, Kafka freaks out. He goes on a bit of a rampage until he sort of gets control of himself, and he encounters another kaiju, which Kafka engages and defeats. And basically, after this, he is given the moniker of Kaiju number 8 because the defense force didn't capture him or kill him. And so later he goes to do the his sort of re-exam for the defense force, and that's where the story goes from there. I loved this volume. It was so much fun. And I really liked the artwork. Like this here. And the humor. Kafka is just a kind of a hoot, and his relationship with Irakawa is just this perfect foil relationship. It's just like, I really enjoyed it. It was magnificent. Let's see here. And there's this. No, really enjoyed it. I had a blast. And I also had a blast with Moriarty The Patriot Volume 1. This is based on the Sherlock Holmes stories of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and is written by Ryusuke Takeuchi and art by Hikaru Miyoshi. So this basically is Sherlock Holmes pastiche. In this setting, the British Empire is all powerful, all conquering, and Britain's nobility are nearly to a person evil people. William James Moriarty has been adopted along with his younger brother by the Moriarty family, largely at the behest of the oldest son, Albert. The Moriartys are abusive to their new young charges until we find out why exactly Albert insisted on adopting William James and Louis James as his adoptive brothers. And it's quite spectacular. From there, from the first chapter, there's a bit of a time skip, about 13 years, to where Moriarty is a professor at Durham College, or Durham University, and he's basically become a bit of a consulting criminal, and he undertakes a number of cases that are aimed at aiding and improving the plight of, well, improving the condition of the peasants and the working class in this area. And he does this by confronting a local nobleman and a corrupt university official. And both chapters are awesome. I really enjoyed this manga. It was great. I'm really looking forward to more volumes of it. Let's see if there's any images I can show you. But yeah. So here are the three Moriarty brothers. And yeah, it's just, I really enjoyed this quite a bit. So yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to more Kaiju No. 8 and Moriarty the Patriot in the not too distant future. So what am I going to be reading this coming reading week? So I planned this weekend to read The Surrendered by Chang-rae Lee. This is a novel that I think explores the relationship between a Korean War veteran and I think a Korean adoptee to the United States. It's been a while since I hauled this. This was originally part of my America 20 project, my ill-fated plan to try to love literary fiction by reading 20 American novels written between 1980 and 2020, and so far I've only managed to like one of them, and I liked it, I didn't love it, it was okay. So hopefully this will be two, but yeah. Anyway, I will report back next Friday. So hopefully I will be able to read The Surrendered over the weekend. And if I can, then that's great. And if not, I don't know what I'll do. But my plan is after I read The Surrendered, I'm going to pretty much binge Eden Zero until I catch up. Eden Zero is a manga by Hiro Mashima. It's his most current series. And it's about a young man named Shiki who has grown up on the planet of Granbell, which is populated by robots. Granbell was a tourist planet. One day, a young woman named Rebecca with her cat companion or Exceed companion Happy come to film videos. The robots malfunction or seemingly malfunction and try to kill Rebecca and Happy. Shiki rescues them, and he joins them on their adventures, deciding to seek out the great giant space goddess Mother. On the way, they have a number of other adventures. The volumes I will be reading, which will be 9 for Monday and Tuesday, although if things go south with The Surrendered, it'll be this weekend. So basically the arcs that will be covered will be the one with Drake and Joe, where one of the great criminals of the Sakura Cosmos seeks to capture Eden Zero and kill its crew, and will eventually lead to an adventure in the Aoi Cosmos and fighting another major crime lord. So I will be reading volumes 8, which will wrap up the I don't know what the proper names of the arcs are, but it'll wrap up the Valkyrie arc. So to show you again, Volume 8, Volume 9, Volume 10, Volume 11, Volume 12, Volume 13, Volume 14, Volume 15, and Volume 15, which is the most recent volume out in the US, and the one I just hauled today in my May book haul. So I am so looking forward to reading these 9 volumes. I cannot wait. Eden Zero has quickly become one of my favorite series, and I really am looking forward to getting caught up. Although that means I probably won't be able to binge the upcoming volumes when they come out, because I'll just read them as they come out or once I've hauled them. And again, I've pretty much pre-ordered, I think up to volume 20? I think. I need to go back and check. I think it's like 3 or 4 volumes I've got pre-ordered with Book People. So anyway, BookTube, that's what I'm planning. Oh wait, it's only up to Tuesday. I need to get started on June. So I don't know what all reading events are going on in June. I know it's Pride Month, so I'm planning on reading a lot of queer literature, mainly queer history, although there are a few novels I would like to get to, and some of my reading plans around that's kind of up in flux, which I talked a bit about in my May book haul. But I also really wanted to participate in another reading event, June on the Range, which is a creation of Michael K. Vaughan. He's a fantastic booktuber. And so I decided to participate. Now, I don't really have much in the way of Western literature. I guess if you squint and say weird Westerns count, maybe, but traditional Westerns, I don't have any. So I went and bought a copy of Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry this past month, and hauled it today. It was back behind the wall of history, fighting Tom Holland, not that Tom Holland, the historian. Yeah. I tried to make a joke of my last book haul, but anyway. Or a fun narrative, but I don't know quite if it came out or not, but anyway. So, starting June 1st, I will be starting on Lonesome Dove and reading it until I am finished, whenever that is. I'm thinking it probably will be at least the rest of this coming reading week, probably the weekend, might be up into the work week of next week. Or not next week, but the week following. So, I'm not entirely sure when that'll be, so I'll pretty much be reading Lonesome Dove until I finish. Although with next week's weekly reads, I will mention what I'm planning on reading after I finish Lonesome Dove, whenever that is. So if you don't know, Lonesome Dove is one of the great westerns. It's about a group of ex-Texas Rangers who have gone into cattle ranching. Their ranch is located somewhere near the Mexican border because I think the opening scene or opening chapters deal with them entering into Mexico and rustling cattle. Eventually, they decide to move north to Wyoming, and so the novel is a trek from near the border with Mexico to near the border with Canada, and the group have all sorts of adventures. So I'm quite looking forward to it, and forward to Lonesome Dove and having another go at it. I did try to read it a few years ago and didn't quite get on with it. And I'm hoping that was just I was not really in the mood for big books and westerns, and hopefully this reading will see me enjoy it, because I've heard a lot of great things about Lonesome Dove. So wish me luck. So that's my reading plan for next week. Hopefully things work out. But anyway, I will report back next Friday, however they happen. So my plans for the coming week for videos. I'm going to try to do a few discussion videos. I want to have a go at like booktube events, but also personal reading goals and reading challenges. And I want to do a few tags. I think a few weeks ago I mentioned that there seemed to be a dearth of tags. Lately that's changed quite a bit. In fact, I think most of us, those of us who do tags quite frequently, are probably finding ourselves swamped. I also want to probably talk a bit about e-reading. And there's, of course, my top 20 books, although I'm going to be fudging it with some series. And there might be another topic or two that comes to mind, or more tags, I don't know. But anyway, BookTube, I'm starting to ramble, and this video is already half an hour, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off for now. Thank you, BookTube. Have a great weekend and rest of your evening before next weekend, and of course enjoy the, if you're American, the Memorial Day weekend, and I will see you next week. And until then, thank you, BookTube, and stay safe.